So a few days ago, the Boston Celtics played the Los Angeles Clippers. I believe a couple of days after playing the Los Angeles Lakers. In the Lakers game, they gave up, I believe it was at one point, an 18-point lead. And then they played the Clippers a couple days later, and they gave up a, I believe, 28-point lead. Right now, the Celtics are a mess. I mean, a complete mess. They've been a mess for a while. I said in a previous video, just because they are winning doesn't mean the team isn't in shambles. Now, I made a video stating that I believe Kyrie is the source of the friction, the division in the team. Is primarily Kyrie. I don't believe Gordon Hayward is as much to blame for the issues with the team because he's taking a back seat to everybody. They're bringing him off the bench. He seems to be, well, for a while it seemed that he was meshing well with the coming off the bench or playing in spurts. And I mean, he still is for the most part. It's just the team isn't succeeding. The team's not thriving. And I put most of the onus on Kyrie Irving. But now I'm realizing that was unfair. He's not to blame primarily. Like, he's not the only one to blame. Or him being on the team is not the only thing to look at. The reason why the team isn't playing well. Brad Stevens is a huge problem, and I noticed it last year, especially in the Philadelphia 76ers playoff series where Boston won in 5 games, and in the Cleveland series when Boston lost in 7 games. It looked like, and it was confirmed this year, but last year I said to one of my friends, it looks like they're like he's just throwing them out there. He's letting them play. He's letting them play. He's letting them play. And then when it's like situational basketball where he would need to run a play or something, or he would need to do some coaching, he actually does it. Now, that approach is not any different than what Steve Kerr does in Golden State. But the thing about it is, you have future Hall of Famers riddled throughout your team. Boston doesn't have future Hall of Famers riddled throughout the team, at least not right now. So they need to be coached. These young guys need to be coached. They need to be led. So when they gave up the 28-point lead, I thought it was only fitting that they get booed off the court. I mean, if I lived in Boston, I am a Boston supporter. I love the Boston Celtics. I've been watching them for a very long time. I've experienced extreme hardships with the team. Not me personally. I didn't. But I've witnessed. I was there while the team was just in a total disarray. And then when they made the major trades to bring in KG and Ray Allen, I was there for that. I was there when they moved on. They moved on towards Isaiah Thomas. And, I mean, even during that time, I believe Brad Stevens was a phenomenal coach. Even last year, I was calling him. I said last year, he might be the best coach in the NBA. I mean, Greg Popovich is a great coach, but, I mean, that whole saga with Kawhi Leonard, it kind of tainted Greg Popovich's image, at least to people that pay attention to what was going on. So I'm going to let them talk for a little bit, then I'll just jump in.
For them, they blew a 28-point lead Saturday night to the Clippers, causing their fans to boo them off the court. To make matters worse, Kyrie Irving left the game with a knee injury. He's listed as day-to-day, and it seems like the Celtics' success is listed day-to-day as well. Marcus Morris didn't sugarcoat the issue. Take a listen.
It's not fun, man. Like, it's not fun. We're not competing at a high level. You know, even though we're winning, it's still not. It's just not fun. You know.
And when Marcus Morris is the best player on your team right now, Marcus Morris right now is probably the most consistent and the biggest impact, positive impact on that team.
I don't see the joy in the game. I Some teams don't leaving guys up on the bench, they're jumping on the court, they're doing all the stuff that this look like is they enjoying, their teammates' success, they're enjoying everything, and they're playing together, and they're playing to win. And when I look at us, I just see a bunch of individuals. We got to play to win. That's sacrificing playing hard, that's sacrificing, being a better teammate, that's sacrificing whatever it is. We have to put it to the side. No one's getting traded. The trade deadline's over. We're competing for a championship, and that's how we got to approach these games. We're going to lose or draw, man. We're going to lose games, but we don't have no attitude. We don't have no toughness. We ain't having fun. It's going to be a long season.
And that's the biggest problem. The players on the team aren't willing to sacrifice for the good of the team. I mean, you have Kyrie Irving, who's never led a championship caliber team before. I mean, even in college, he got hurt, I believe, within the first 5 games of the season. I believe it was the first game of the season at Duke, and he missed the entire year. And he was still the number 1 draft pick because, he, even looking back, I believe he was the best player coming out of that draft. I got to go back and look at that draft, and, so I can remember who came out of it. But that was the year the lockout happened, or the shortened season. So he was the best player, I believe, coming out of that draft. But he's never led a championship caliber team, especially at the pro level. So right now he's trying to figure it out. He's trying to figure it out, and he's realizing it's not easy. Just because you have the most talented team doesn't mean it's easy. Gordon Hayward at Utah has never led that team when it was a championship caliber team. Honestly, Utah hasn't been a championship caliber team since, I want to say, Darren Williams, but it might go back even further. It might not have been till since Karl Malone was there. But he's never been, honestly, I don't even consider Gordon Hayward. I don't think he was the leader of the Utah Jazz. So he's never really been the leader of a professional sports franchise. And these are the 2 guys who are supposedly the 2 best players on the team. And they've never led a team this talented before. And then you got the young guys who they can't get out of their own way. They believe that they can do the job of Kyrie and Gordon Hayward and Al Horford. They believe they can do that. They don't need them for that. And that's why that playoff run was so damaging. And right now it's looking like it was so damaging to them psychologically. Because they will not give up the fact that we got to the Eastern Conference Finals without 2 of you. And even the third one wasn't even that big a deal. Like, he wasn't even that big an impact on what we was doing. Even though I've said it before, and I believe Al Horford was the leader of that team during that playoff run. He was the glue guy. Al Horford was. He even stepped his game up to a different level during that playoff run, where he turned into this versatile threat that you literally had to, like, his man had to follow him all over the floor, which made it easier for the young guys to get going. But I am on record as saying it's Kyrie's presence there is causing great friction. The best thing Boston probably could have did, even if it meant no title run this year, was move Kyrie at the deadline. Because sometimes, even without you realizing it, even without you doing anything to deserve such a claim like that, sometimes you can be a distraction. Like, I have a sister. She goes to work. When me and her boyfriend watch the kids, the kids are fine. The kids are fine all day. As soon as she gets home, the kids lose fucking control. And it's not that she's doing anything. It's just that her presence is causing disarray. And that's what Kyrie is doing. His presence there is causing, because he's the leader in the media. He's the leader. I'm pretty sure the Brad Stevens in the front office, he's the guy. And that's a problem for these younger guys. And I think subtraction is a good thing. There's way too many talented but similar players on the team. I mean, shit, you've probably got like 4 players at the small forward position on that team that could probably either start or back up a good starter anywhere else in the NBA. I believe Marcus Morris is a small forward. Jaylen Brown is like a wing. Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward. Is there any more wings out there? No, I believe that's it. But that's 4 right there. Marcus Morris is not a power forward. His brother is a power forward. This Marcus Morris is a small forward. So, I don't know, man. It's right now. It's just a clusterfuck of bullshit right now.
All right, Antoine, I mean, there was Marcus Morris talking about how something has to change if these guys are going to play together, put this together, and then make a good playoff run. What needs to change on this team before the playoffs start?
I don't know if it can change. This needs to start from day one. I think obviously they had high expectations, but what was really their expectations of the team? We know they did great last year without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, but just obviously a lack of leadership in the locker room. You saw Kyrie with his little spat where he went out and called LeBron because he wasn't being a great leader. You have to have, and people don't understand, to be a good team, you have to have the camaraderie, whether it's going to dinner, whether it's hanging out. You got to get these guys together. And on this team, you got a lot of
in the NBA, bro. I think people think you practice more. They think you do play an 82-game schedule, but all that other time becomes more important than the time that you spend on the court, because on the court, you only have 5 guys. So I saw that Miami team, which you talk about all the team building, and that's one thing Kyrie didn't have with LeBron. We have had guys sit here who played with LeBron and say LeBron is the best team-building teammate that they have ever seen in the NBA, as far as getting people involved, doing certain things, taking the initiative, stretching their brain, making them do things that they wouldn't ever do. And now you're talking about how important those things are.
If you want to win, and if their goal was to win an NBA championship, because they're 14 games over 500, so they're playing good, decent enough basketball, but obviously they had expectations of probably 60, 65 wins. They were thinking that probably was the expectations. Obviously, they're going to get to that. If you look at their roster, they got 6 guys averaging double figures. Brad Stevens has tried his best to balance the minutes out. Nobody's playing more than 32 minutes. So they've tried their best to balance the minutes out. But I think you got guys with individual agendas. When you look at Terry Rozier, wants a big contract. He's getting the less minutes of probably those guys. Then you got Jaylen Brown, who started off the season. You bring Gordon Hayward back, put him right in the starting lineup, where he probably should have came off the bench in the beginning and let him build his way back up. But Brad Stevenson, he played for Brad. That's Brad's guy. He's going to put him in the mix. So it's just a lot of internal things, I think. And then playing-wise, I just think defensively, they're not a very good team defensively. The same team they were last year.
Well, they were a dominant defense last year. Yes. I still think
I wouldn't say dominant, but they were a really good defensive team last year, mainly because of youth, energy, effort. They actually wanted to play defense last year. This year, they don't want to. I don't think they care about playing defense this year. Also, another thing with this team is they shoot way too many 3-pointers. A lot of times when I'm watching a game, and this is why I can't watch too many Celtics games, because sometimes they get caught up in looking for the best 3-point shot. You know, you'll see them pass the ball around. Like, they're just passing. And each person they pass to is open for a second at the 3-point line. But then they're closed out. Then they'll pass it to somebody else at the 3-point line. They get caught up in that 3. And this is why I believe the 3-ball is becoming a problem, man. Because these teams are focusing way too much on it. And they're dying. They're living and dying by that. I mean, every team needs to have their own identity. You can't be Golden State. And most teams think you have to be Golden State in order to beat them, and you don't. Boston, the way they were constructed last year, if they would have had Kyrie probably last year, they would have got to the finals. There's no way they're losing Game 7. That game was close, and they played terrible. They played terrible in that game. And that game was as close as it was. If Kyrie was on that team, they would have won that game. They would have won that game for sure. They probably wouldn't even got the 7 games, honestly. Because last year, when Kyrie was on the team, And these young guys, before they realize that, oh man, I think I could take this. I think I could do this. I think I'm the leader. Before that happened, and Kyrie was running that team, everything was damn near perfect. They went on a 16-game win streak. It was, goddamn, they looked great. And I said it last time. I said there were back-to-back games with the Warriors and the Rockets last year where they kept both teams under 100 points, which is wildly impressive. When you talk about a team with a bunch of young guys, crazy impressive. So there's a little that Antoine Walker talks about that I agree with, that I don't believe it's a talent problem. I believe it's an agenda problem. And the only person that can fix this is Brad Stevens. Because you can't expect these young guys to give up on the fact that they are the stars. They believe that this team was as successful last year as they were because of them. And you can't, and they won't give that up. You have to convince them. You have to get them to buy in, and they're not buying in anymore because they believe they can do the job. And they won't give that up, and that's what's killing the team. And this is why I say Kyrie is the problem, because if Kyrie wasn't there, I'm pretty sure the game would be a lot smoother, even though I'm not saying it would be better. It would just be perceived better because it looks smoother. The game, it doesn't look as rough as it does right now. You don't see a lack of effort out there, because a lot of times when I see, like last year when teams were shooting three-pointers, you would see Boston close out like fucking like predators, man. Like they would close the fuck out. And then this year, you just don't see the same effort, man. A lot of times you'll see like Jaylen Brown just standing in one spot, not even fucking moving, not even look like he wants to move.
In the top five, typically one or two. Yeah, I actually think they're a pretty good defensive team still, but they are not. Last year, they were the number one ranked defense in basketball. That is what they thrived on, is a defensive identity. I think people have been cautious to say this because we have empathy and we feel for the player. But so much of this comes down to Gordon Hayward. He is taking 26 minutes a night. Those minutes could be distributed elsewhere. 6 more minutes for Terry Rozier. 12 more minutes, but...
What is he talking about? 26 minutes for Gordon Hayward when coming in last year. This dude was supposed to be Robin to Kyrie's Batman. "26 minutes is very reasonable. And I don't know what other people are saying, but it looks like from the start of the season till now, Gordon Hayward looks way better. He looks a lot more explosive. His shot can be better. But this is what happens when you have a shooter. Like, Gordon Hayward is a natural jump shooter. Like, I'm not a natural. He's your prototypical jump shooting wing player. He's your jump shooter. So when you don't give your shooter enough shots, they can become a little rusty, man. Muscle memory matters, especially in sports. Anybody who's played fucking sports knows this. Muscle memory matters. So when he's not shooting as much as he should be shooting, because I'm sure Gordon Hayward, when he gets back to at least close to 100%, this dude should be taking at least 15 shots a game. 15 shots. I don't know how many shots he's taking now, but I'm pretty sure it's not 15 because he's not even out there to shoot as much. Like, when he gets back close to 100%, he needs to have no less than 15 shots. Kyrie should have around 15 to 20, maybe even 25 shots. Kyrie should be shooting more than anybody because Kyrie is a better shot than anybody on the team. He's the best offensive player on this team. So you give him more opportunities. Gordon Hayward second. And Rozier, that was another thing. I just remember Rozier. Rozier coming into the season, I thought was going to be the biggest problem with the team because he wants that money. And I knew that he was going to take every opportunity, every second that he was given in the game, he was going to use it to showcase his ability, which was going to seriously hinder the team. But for the most part, Rozier does not look like he's the fucking problem. Rozier actually looks like he's buying into the system better, which I believe is the best case for him, because if you show other teams that you can be a part of the team and not just try to be Russell Westbrook and do every fucking thing, it's a better case for you, because no matter what coach a team brings in or no matter what system the team uses, they should be able to implement you into that system. And I believe that's the mentality that every player should fucking adopt, because that's the best mentality to have as a player. I'm willing to adopt and conform to whatever the team needs me to do. It's like on a job application when they ask you to, like if you're getting a job for the first time and they ask you for what kind of salary do you want starting out, you just say negotiable, because you're flexible. And that's how players should be, flexible. And right now, Rozier looks like he's trying to buy in the system, and it's working for him. Like, as an athlete, when I played, I did whatever the team needed me to do. I wanted to be a running back because I was fast as hell, but they put me at defensive end because I had some size. I mean, I was fast, but I had some size on me, and I was a very physical guy. And I was one of the fastest defensive ends probably they ever had on that team in high school. And I did what the team needed me to do. I didn't like it. I hated it. I mean, I didn't know shit about defense. But I conformed to what the team needed me to do because I really wanted to play. And over time, I became good at it. So that's what every player should. They should adopt that mentality, man, because it works out. This is going to be a problem for the rest of the year. Boston is going to be a problem for the rest of the year, and not in a good way. And Celtics fans may have a really shitty postseason. This was supposed to be an extremely promising year, probably way more promising than 2007, honestly. Because if you compare this team coming into the season to the 07 team, this team has way much more depth than that team did. But the difference between this team and that 07 team, that 07 team, everybody bought in. You had your stars, which was Ray Allen, KG, Paul Pierce. They led the team. You had Kendrick Perkins, you had Rajon Rondo, who were role players, and they knew that. And then you had your bench. You had Leon Poe, Tony Allen, James Posey, Eddie House. Those guys knew their job, and they were fine with doing the job if it meant they get the win. And then, honestly, we should have beat the Lakers the second time. But I believe a huge reason why we didn't, there's two reasons why we didn't beat them. You know, I'm going to just say three because it needs to be fucking said. One was the age. You know, everybody was older. You know, the Lakers were, I won't say significantly younger, but they were younger. And another thing was Kendrick Perkins didn't play Game 7, which we didn't have our rim protector. And the third thing was, that was the start of Rondo's huge ego trip that he went on for like the next 4 years after that season. Like, people talk about Russell Westbrook, like Russell Westbrook is one of the worst stat patters we've seen in recent memory. Rajon Rondo was just as bad. This dude will hold the ball until about 5 seconds left on the shot clock and then pass it to somebody, forcing them to shoot the ball. I mean, he wasn't blocking teammates' shots, or he wasn't blocking out his teammates for rebounds. But, I mean, this dude stayed in the paint. Instead of getting out on the break, he would get the ball and then he will start the break. Instead of standing at the three-point line, let the big man get the rebound and then kick it out to you, and then you lead the fast break. Rajon Rondo was one of the biggest stat patters I've ever seen, because he wasn't physically gifted like Russell Westbrook, but you could say he was much more aggressive with it. But, you know, I don't know. So I may make another video on this. I'm gonna give myself an opportunity to see the rest of the video, see if it's worth looking at. But yeah, man, this is gonna be a rough road for the Celtics, man. And any Celtics fans out there, man, like you got to give it time, man, because they're not looking so good right now, and it's not looking good for the season. But luckily, it's still All-Star break. That gives them a time to take like a week or so off to figure it out. Honestly, I'm not sending anybody to the fucking All-Star game if I'm Brad Stevens, and this is why Brad Stevens needs to intervene. Nobody's going to the All-Star. Like, Jason Tatum is supposed to be involved. Kyrie's on the All-Star team. Nobody goes. I am prohibiting anybody from going. And anybody that does go, seriously, Will Set, man, like, he needs to fucking step up. And he needs to be an example on this team. Since nobody else wants to fucking lead, he needs to be the fucking leader on the team. So, alright, that's it.